Welcome to Tavern Tales. We've all been asked for favors by our families and friends, but what would you do when the requests become increasingly strenuous? Do you still agree out of courtesy, or do you decline and risk a falling out? Today's tale: am I the antagonist for not wanting to babysit for my relatives anymore? In short, I agreed to help look after my cousin's child due to skyrocketing daycare costs as a temporary fix. I would give them 1 day a week. The understanding between me, my cousin, and his wife was that this was temporary, as stated. My cousin seems to have forgotten that part. He now expects me to be down there every week. Between drive time and waiting for his wife to get home and take over, that's an entire day where I do nothing but travel or babysit. I spend more hours a day watching his child than I do at my own part-time position, with no compensation. He intends for me to keep the schedule clear to fall, as he signed up for multiple college courses and decided that, to accommodate the schedule, I'll be there every week and keep not only the toddler, but a newborn as well. At no point was I consulted about this idea. He's already signed up for courses and just sprung his plan on me the last time I was over. From my perspective, I'm down to 1 day a week to myself, and I spend most of it just trying to recharge. I never leave the house now except to go to work, get groceries, and go to the house. Between extended hours at work and babysitting, I have no energy for any of my hobbies that help me decompress. I am completely burnt out. The thought of keeping that up for months is doing something to my mental health. I feel like I am just a means to an end, since when my cousin's wife gets home, I am rushed out of the house as she and the baby have somewhere too. I feel like I am being taken advantage of because I tried to help once, and I know that my relatives understood that it wasn't a long-term fix to the problem. At the same time, I understand my cousin and his family couldn't have expected a sudden hike in daycare costs, and I know they're struggling financially. My cousin is trying very hard to get his degree and do better for his family, while his wife works long hours to keep them afloat. I know they don't need added stress on top of everything else, which includes having a second child on the way. I've only held out this long because I love the kid I watch. Recent events are actually why I made this post. I told my cousin that we'd have to see if I was available in the fall, which he seemed okay with. Afterwards, older relatives reached out to me about this conversation, urging me towards keeping up the current arrangement. This has frustrated me greatly, but I also wonder how much stock there is in the idea I should suck up to it because they have bigger problems than me being exhausted. So, Reddit, am I the antagonist for wanting to pull back from this arrangement? You're definitely not the antagonist. It's nice of you, or perhaps too nice of you, to be so understanding that they have their own problems to deal with. But it's precisely as you put it, their own problems. You aren't responsible for their problems, and also just because you think your own situation is less significant than theirs, doesn't mean that it shouldn't take precedent. What are your thoughts? Here are the community's opinions. Not the antagonist, and you have done way more than enough. It is completely acceptable, and in fact, you owe it to yourself to say, I know it's hard, but I can't sustain this anymore. So we need to talk about how to transition you to regular daycare, since I'm not going to be able to continue helping out in the fall. And honestly, the fact that they're having a second child when they can't even support the first shows me that they're not super concerned with being responsible here, and are in fact taking advantage of your generosity and kindness. Alternatively, you could propose an amount that you would be comfortable being paid for the work. I'm sure they'd rather pay you than a stranger, and you deserve to be paid, but that's only if you want to continue doing this. If those older relatives feel this is so important, then they're welcome to pitch in. Next time they say something, tell them, you're right, it's so important. In fact, can I schedule you for next Wednesday? Not the antagonist. He should have consulted you before signing up for more classes. That's on him, not you. And why can't any other family members watch the kids? They're so nosy. All up in your business about what you can do. What are they? My husband and I had no help from family when my son was a baby, and we had no choice but to put him in daycare. But we planned for a child and saved money. I wanted a second baby but never got it, because we couldn't afford the expenses. I'm sorry. I can't stand people that have children they can't take care of, and expect other people to do it for them. They shouldn't have had another baby if they were struggling to care for the one they already had. And now for the update. First, I want to thank the users here for giving me perspective. It became clear as I read comments that I was being taken advantage of, and while I feel for my cousin's problems, I am not responsible for it and cannot fix them. I have to put myself first, or else I cannot give my best to the child at the center of the issue. Per the advice given, I confronted my cousin directly and tried to talk things out. I told my cousin that if I was going to keep up the arrangement through autumn, I wanted the summer off from babysitting. I also said we would discuss compensation when he got home from class. Unfortunately, this made things worse. For the rest of the morning, I was dictated to as to what I could feed the kid, what tasks we could do, etc. It was apparent over a series of texts and calls that I was no longer a helper, but the help. A joke about the toddler wanting a certain food got shot down rudely. To be honest, it ended up making me cry because it was so unexpectedly mean when I was just joking. His wife visited for lunch and I brought up that I wanted a break. She demanded to know why. And when I explained I was stressed out and needed time for myself, I was told that I was being unreasonable. She's made it clear I can't be stressed out because I am a single part-timer, compared to her as a full-time worker that still has to come home and be a wife and mother. I realized at that point that my cousin and his wife consider my time somehow less valuable than theirs. I have not been back since. They have cut all contact with me for the time being, though other relatives have made it clear they think I blew things out of proportion and I'm in the wrong. This has extended to being left out from family events. I missed the kid I babysit, and I'm hurt that she had a recent hospital stay and I was not told. It appears I am only allowed to be a part of her life so long as I kowtow to her parents. Despite having taken care of her since she was months old and often provided for her financially. That aside, there is a silver lining. With my newfound free time and desire to break the work-store-home cycle, I adopted a rescue dog. He's helped me get out of the house and re-engage with the world, and that's done wonders for my mental health after the problems I had in my last post. That's where it ends for now, and I really just wanted to let those who had offered me help with my first post know how thankful I am for their insight and advice. I'll be the first to admit I've got a weak spine, so it was game-changing to have a bunch of strangers reassure me and give me the desire to stand up for myself. Things might not have worked out this time, but I know ultimately confronting the problem and communicating was for the best. Good on you for confronting them about the issue. It's almost always better to do that than let it simmer or suffer silently. Your cousins and some of your relatives are very unreasonable and entitled for thinking that your time isn't as important as theirs. And the fact that they cut you off for not doing their biddings really shows you what kind of people they are. What do you think of the story? Let me know. And that's a wrap for tonight. Be sure to visit us next time. And if you want to, leave a like and subscribe.